Welcome in, everybody, to Leading Off right here on Fantasy Pros. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia. That handsome young fortune teller is Dan Harris, and it's you, and we're talking all things baseball this morning as we always do. It's a milestone episode for the show. We're coming off an incredible home run derby that our own Dan Harris, of course, guessed correctly who was going to win. And tonight we're going to talk about not only the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, but we're also going to get into a little bit of the MLB draft. I finally got to watch some tape and go through some of the talent that's coming into the major leagues. And Dan Harris, I know sometimes we're prisoners of the moment, but my goodness, that was an outstanding home run derby. I mean, start to finish, from Trey Mancini leading things off there with 26 or whatever he had. Man, oh man, things got off to a great start, and it got better and better. There was drama, there was excitement, and there was a lot of head bobbing from a polar bear.
Find something that you enjoy as much as Pete Alonso enjoys competing in the home run derby, because that's, it's great to see, because I think baseball, as you and I know, occasionally lacks character and occasionally lacks sort of that fun aspect that you and I would like to probably see
Charisma
injected a little bit more. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it had a whole bunch of it last night. And look, I mean, only Pete Alonso could hit a ball that probably, a kid probably tore his ACL trying to catch it in the outfield. They had to pause it so he could be helped off. And then he just comes back in and just, bashes another bunch of bombs. I would have liked to have seen Mancini win it, of course, for obvious reasons. But I can't get away from watching Alonso's pure joy and how awesome he was. It was great. It was a great night.
Man, and how Major League Baseball 2021 was it that somebody got hurt shagging flies at the home run derby? That's all I could think about. I was like, look at this. I mean, I felt terrible, but I was like, oh man, it's so baseball right now. That's so Raven. Oh my goodness. But, I want to go through this derby because this was great. Like, I know there's been some epic ones, and someone asked me on the Twitter machine, they said, do you miss where you got to just watch every single home run kind of leave, this whole frantic pace and things like that? I'm astounded by the frantic pace. I think it's cool. I get what the person's saying, though. You kind of miss the majesty of Lily's little moments. But you know what? The home run derby would go on for like 4.5 hours. It was so long. Even this was long because of the the ties. And we'll get the Ohtani and Soto stuff in a while because that was just amazing. But, Trey Mancini, if I could be a hitting nerd for a moment here on the program, what was so fun to watch Trey Mancini when you're operating at that speed is the quickness of his swing. When his elbow drops into the quarter slot so quickly and he gets those hands in, and you could see how his hands are so close to his body.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, he's tailor-made for this sort of pace because he's very quick to the baseball. He's got a really clean finish up high, so it's a natural loft. It's not a forced kind of launch angle loft. It's a natural one he has on his finish. But what's so great is it's so compact, it's so quick, and he can reset so quickly. And after the first couple home runs he hit, I went, oh my goodness, Trey Mancini's got a shot at this thing.
Yep.
He is just on a rapid pace. And Matt Olson was pretty close. I mean, Matt Olson was right on his tail, but Matt Olson has the longer swing. And you know what? That he couldn't kind of reload himself fast enough to catch Mancini. I want to talk about that matchup first before we get into the next one, because that was kind of a fascinating thing, but Mancini ended up making it to the finals. Dan, what was your thoughts on that first matchup? Because certainly things started off with a bang with those two, 50-plus home runs between the two of them.
I think we expected Olson to have success because he's Matt Olson and he can do like a home run derby in regular baseball. I was surprised by Mancini, and what I think I realized is I don't watch Trey Mancini all that much. Like, I watch baseball every night. I flip around for the most part. I like Trey Mancini. I've watched him many times, but I haven't really just sat there and watched his swing. And you're right. When I first started seeing it, the quickness of it, and just you're more of a, because you were an actual hitting coach or something.
In Williamsport, right? where they play, where we ran the camp leagues up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where the Little League World Series comes in. I was one of the hitting instructors there for a few years, and it was it's one of those things like if you want to teach a guy, and the other thing we used to teach so much of too was what Juan Soto does, which he does better than anybody else, which is why the first time I saw Juan Soto hit, I went, oh my God, I can't believe he can do all of those things at once. But we'll get to him in a second. But what Mancini does in terms of bringing down his body to the baseball, bringing his hands to the baseball. But again, his arms and everything is so tight to his body. So what happens is his body ends up generating the power more than even his lower half. It's the entire body at once, because basically it's almost like catching the baseball and throwing the baseball with the bat at the same time. Whereas Olsen is like the opposite. Olsen's all arms. He has this long, glorious swing, and his arms are so long he can actually lift the baseball, which was pretty glorious. I mean, he hit a couple bombs up into that upper tier that was amazing.
Yeah. Well, my home run coach, my hitting coach sort of ability boils down to telling my 8-year-old to keep his eye on the ball and swing hard. So you're a little more apt to sort of break the stab that I've. But look, Mancini, he had sort of the perfect rhythm. Watching him throughout, it was like a slingshot. Like, it was just he was so fast. He just sort of got ready and he just sort of yanked the ball. So,
and he had a good pitcher too. That
he had a good. By the way,
matters.
that is. I mean, look at. I forgot. I think it was Sporer who tweeted out or something like that about where Alonso's pitcher was just laying the ball, and every single ball was perfect. Yeah. Belly button or
it's a huge part of it.
Yeah,
and it's why I think Soto at the end of the day, was struggling a little bit. And Soto was amazing because Soto was hitting balls out all over the field. He was hitting balls out to left field, center field. He's driving balls dead center field over trees. He's launching balls to right field. He's launching balls to left field. I was impressed by Sal Perez. I didn't expect that one to be quite as...
Or Sal Perez.
I know, poor Sal Perez.
I know.
He ran up against the polar bear. But man, the moment of the night has got to be Ohtani and Soto. And besides Alonso, obviously. Yeah. Because these guys go at it into a tie, then to a second tie, and then you get 3 swings, right? 3 swings. Yeah. And Juan Soto hits a home run on all 3 swings. And Ohtani, of course, the first one pops it up. That's it. Yeah. The drama that caused, it was so great to watch these guys. It just kind of magnifies how good Ohtani is. But the other thing that Soto does, which is so fascinating, if you watch his front leg, Juan Soto has that turned in, it's almost like a no stride kind of stance. He does lift it a little bit, but what happens is that allows your hip turn to stay in. You stay in longer on the baseball. Now, that's a hard thing to do as long as Juan Soto is able to do it. And it's because he's so strong physically, especially in the lower half. But he gets so much torque out of that. But you also know, you watch these balls, like you're saying, going all these different places from the pitcher. And he's hitting them wherever he throws them. Yeah. And if there was any more consistency, if you could have put him where Soto wanted him, I think he would have actually had a real shot to maybe go on. I think that tiebreaker kind of spent him a little bit, but yet there he was at the end of days anyway. But Pete Alonso's the story, man. Pete Alonso, it was joy. That was joy to watch, I feel like. Like, even if you didn't like baseball, and last night we were chatting with Yates, right? And he's watching the home run derby. Yeah. Our own Yates, who's not a baseball guy, he's watching, he's like, this is great, right? And it really was entertaining. And I mean, how much do you think the Mets are going to have to pay for Alonso to keep him around? Because I don't think he ever wants to leave, but they're going to have to start ponying up some big money pretty soon. Hopefully Steve Cohen's got some deep pockets. We know he does. Hopefully he spends it.
Yeah, this is the good part about, there are many good parts about having Steve Cohen now as your owner, but I can't imagine that Alonso's going to walk at any point just because he's, for lack of a, not to be whatever, but for lack of a better way to say, he's kind of the heart and soul of the team. Like, he's so emotional. He started the whole ripping off your jersey, after obviously a game-winning hit. He's good for baseball and he's good for the Mets. But the difference is, and again, I picked him last night, and it wasn't just a homer pick. Pete Alonso wanted to win this. Like, they all want to win it. But Pete Alonso, trained for it.
He's such a competitor. I know. He and there's a different kind of power. He is a brute strength power. He's a different kind of power. And, Paul's right. When you're putting the baseball in that zone for him, it's a lock and load spot for him. And he's just locking and loading. And then the difference is you watch Juan Soto hitting laser beams. Yeah. Like, he hits balls that are going out that barely get over the wall sometimes. Yeah. Because he hits them so hard. And I just want to remind everybody, Juan Soto is 22 years old. 22.
Wait, do you like Juan Soto? Are you a Juan Soto fan?
I'm a fan.
Is that you?
Well, I think about how good he's going to be when he's 28.
I know.
I mean, this is him at 22. And sometimes I want to stop everything and go, guys, look, I know, Ohtani's fun right now. I know Tatis is very colorful in the way he does things, and it's great television. Juan Soto's 22, and he hits the baseball like the way we used to talk about Ken Griffey, the way we used to talk about certain guys, where it's just the game's in a different universe for him. And I can't even imagine 3, 4, 5 years from now what this player is capable of. and it's going to be a fun thing to watch. That's for sure. I said, I remember the Maguire Sosa years. There's been some really fun derbies in the past, but I remember the one very fondly in Fenway Park. This to me was super entertaining because of the tie and the drama that created, and then Alonso being Alonso. Yeah. This has got to be top 3 all time, I think, in terms of derbies.
Yeah, it was a great derby. It really was. You had a lot of things. Number one, obviously having Ohtani in there. What I realized about Ohtani, and I was having a text string with my buddies about it last night, is that Ohtani's swing kind of looks ugly. Like it looks like he's kind of all over the place, and everything's there. But when you slow it down,
moving parts. Yes.
Slow it down though. Slow it down the swing and watch it. And a buddy sent something, be like, watch how he does it. And it's actually kind of a very beautiful sort of, his mechanics really aren't crazy. They look weird when you're watching it in real time. But overall, he's got a really kind of beautiful swing. But you had Ohtani in there, which was great, putting aside any controversy that you may have heard from other, person. I know.
We'll talk about that.
We're not going to talk about that. But regardless,
we'll talk about that.
Fine. It doesn't matter. But in the end, you had Ohtani. Great to see Soto again because, part of baseball's issue is the marketing to the younger fan, right? Like that's it. Like let the kids play, all this sort of stuff. So putting Ohtani, especially, who again, the younger, like, my son who's 8 and loves baseball, he doesn't know that much about Ohtani. I teach him about him and stuff like that.
Right.
But even he doesn't know that much about him. To see Soto as young, to see, how much Alonso wanted it and how crazy it was.
Grow with
this is great. Right? It was great. It was a great night for baseball overall.
We're like beaming about this. Like
we
Dan
are,
and I were like little kids last night. It was like being a kid again.
Well, we were messaging. And what was great, honestly, is Yates. Yates, who I'm sure most people listening to this understand, is one of our football analysts. Yates does not watch baseball. Okay, I tease the running joke I have with Yates, in addition to him being 17 years old, is the fact that I'll mention baseball and how Joe and I do baseball, and then I'll always be like, by the way, Yates, baseball is this entirely different sport where people throw a ball and hit it with a bat. Like he doesn't even know what it is. And he's messaging us about the home run derby.
He's like, wow, look at this.
He's like, this is incredible. Look at this. So when you can reach Yates on about baseball, like you probably reached a whole bunch of people. So it's just a great night for the sport overall.
It was. And you know what? Even though that negativity and that comment you're talking about from a sportscaster who from another network, not our network here, clearly, we would never say anything like that. Right. Otherwise, Dan Harris would be a very busy guy the last 24 hours.
Let's be honest,
aren't you grateful you're not the EIC of ESPN some days?
For yesterday, I was. Yes,
little perspective, my friend. Little perspective. But the good part that came out of that, and everybody always wants to look at the negative, but the good part is all the people that went, "What are you, crazy? This is great for baseball. Shohei Ohtani's great for baseball."
Yeah.
And, speaking through an interpreter, Ichiro's comment years ago is, and someone reposted it and I saw it and it reminded me of it again, which was, I spoke through an interpreter not because I couldn't speak English, because I wanted people to get my response from the heart of how I felt about something. And sometimes things get lost in translation, and I didn't want to offend anybody or put anybody off or not come across as authentic. And you know what? Yes, that's absolutely true. There's a small part of it, too, that Ichiro, being a star, also knew that he could kind of get away with a little bit more and do a little bit more. But you know what? What Ohtani's doing is saving baseball. What he's doing is something that in our lifetimes we've never seen, in our grandparents' lifetimes we've never seen. This is someone dominating both ends of a baseball field. This does not happen. This is great. I don't care where he's from, what language he speaks. All I care about is the performance on the field. And my goodness, I don't care. He is an engaging, charismatic guy. Like, just when you hear him, even in those other interviews, he's smiling, he's effervescent, he is charismatic, he's all those things. He's what you want in a star. I just wish he didn't play on the West Coast so I could watch him more because I'm an old fart. That's my only problem with Ohtani. It's his location. But you know what? In 2024, he's going to be a free agent. We'll see how that goes.
Well, I think the issue really is, again, with these guys, and I think, it is hard when you're on any West Coast team. It just is. I have trouble watching West Coast games, and I stay up all night, basically, but it's very difficult. And so the fan on the East Coast probably doesn't know too much about these guys, but who gives a crap what language they speak? I would much rather that they feel comfortable speaking, and I get on this a lot about, Latin players, and they might speak English, and then you would hear them every once in a while speak English, but then they'll go to an interpreter, and sometimes people get on them for that, and it makes my blood boil because it is very difficult to do an interview and to like Ichiro said, essentially, express how you feel in the manner in which you actually feel it. And to the extent people feel more comfortable doing that in their native language, which I'm sure they do, then they should be allowed to do that. And that doesn't have any impact, I think, on how anybody feels about them as a baseball player.
No, 100%. All right,
effervescence. Well done. Sorry, I saw.
Well, we always have big vocab here.
It's true.
I just post-operative was just not a word I was. If you gave me a hyphen in there, Mayor, I would have done better. Mayor, will you wait, Mayor, till Friday when you're sitting in that other chair where Dan Harris is? Let me tell you, just wait. Just you wait, Mayor.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be like Hamilton. All right, so I promised everybody I'd dig into the prospects a little bit in the draft. So, everybody loves everybody. Everybody's the greatest player ever. Everybody's a comp to a Hall of Famer. Drives me absolutely out of my mind whenever I watch this content. So what I try to do is examine the players, just watch the players with the sound off. And I write my own little notes and things like that. And the guys that I like and things that remind me of. And look, it's good to compare the upside of guys, right? What they could potentially be. I want to start, first of all, with a guy who pulled himself out of the draft, which is Peyton Stovall, who reminds me a lot of Whit Merrifield. A lot in terms of, again, quick to the baseball. He decided to withdraw from the draft, go to Arkansas instead, because he's not going to be a first-round pick this year, and that's a folly of teams who are all of a sudden enamored again of taking a lot of high school arms, which is, the statistics bear it out, a terrible idea for the most part. It's a terrible investment, but again, the finances of baseball, boys and girls. So Stovall next year, I guarantee he's going to be a top 10 pick. I guarantee it. Watch this kid next year in the College World Series or wherever. He's going to be awesome. Joshua Baez, St. Louis ended up drafting this kid. Very powerful swing. I like this kid. He's a pure athlete. That's a guy that's got real power. It's easy power. Ball just explodes off of his bat. Joshua Baez, again, if you're in dynasty leagues, these are guys I really want to talk about. Judd Fabian. Boston had a great draft in the first round. Boston crushed it because two of my favorite hitters they ended up with. Judd Fabian reminds me a lot of, again, the upside scale is David Wright. The lower side scale is somebody who, is probably going to be a Austin Riley type hitter. Somebody love that notion. But Judd Fabian, again, David Wright light is my quote there. Very quality string, really good swing there. Jordan Wicks, another guy I want to talk about. The Cubs ended up, they were comparing him to John Lester, which is crazy because this Jordan Wicks kid throws a little bit harder and he's a little bit more intense on the mound. And he actually has a higher angle that he pitches from too. Lester's a little 3/4. Apier kind of comes over the top back in the day. You remember Kevin Apier because you're old like me. And he was pretty good when he pitched for the Royals. But Jordan Wicks going to the Cubs, that's a pitcher to keep an eye on. Again, I don't know if you've seen any of these guys, so I'm just going to rattle off a couple more.
Yeah, you keep going, man. This is your wheelhouse. Go for it.
Ty Madden got drafted by Detroit. It wasn't the first pitcher Detroit took, but I think it's going to be the best pitcher Detroit took. I know they went early on another pitcher. We'll get to that later. Hard throwing Texas boy. This is one of these guys that just sits up on the mound and just like, here it is, hit it. And I like that. That's the kind of confidence that typically, again, from a college pitcher, quicker path, also the confidence to be able to say, here you go, hit it. That gets you to the big leagues pretty quickly because you tend to, miss a lot of bats, and a lot of guys are a little intimidated by that. Kumar Rocker, okay. Somebody made a comment about over-scouting, and I think this is actually true. I think there was so much hype around Kumar Rocker last year. He didn't go into the draft. He came in this year that eventually they started to find warts. And you know what? I don't think that's fair. He's 6'5", 245. He's an intimidating guy. He's got a great slider. My comp for him that I threw, and this guy started out as a starting pitcher and then eventually became one of the great relief pitchers of all time, is Lee Smith. Now, you remember Lee Smith from the Cubs days, the Cardinals days. He had pitched for the Indians when he came up. If Kumar Rocker ends up becoming a great starting pitcher or even a dominant Lee Smith type reliever, this is a huge win for the Mets at 10 because this is an arguable number one overall talent. And I just think people are looking for all the faults because they had to look at him so much. And I don't think that's fair to Kumar Rocker. I know you were excited about this pick too. What are your thoughts on Rocker going to the Mets?
Yeah, I did not expect him to last that long. And I don't know, Joe, whether or not it was signability concerns or what it's going to take to have him. But I expect him to go in the top, probably 7 at worst. I think he's a guy who could reach the majors pretty quickly. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he's up at some point next year if all things break right. But yeah, he's a guy who I think if he avoids injury, his profile suggests that he can probably, his floor is a 3 or 4 starter, at worst, as long as he can avoid injury. I think the upside is pretty immense. I was absolutely ecstatic when we got him. Probably not since we landed Conforto, which was surprising when we got him. I maybe also the 10th pick. I might have been. I could be wrong on that. But when Conforto slipped, and I remember being one of the few times where I was like, I did not expect this to last this long. I'm incredibly optimistic on what we're going to see in the near future. I feel that way about Rocker.
And I know people are saying, well, John Lester used to throw 95 here in the chat. Yes, I remember that, but it's a different angle. I'm telling you right now, John Lester came over a little bit more visual to the hitter. This guy comes a little over the top and he kind of falls off to the side. It kind of gets up on you really quick as a left hand. Not that Lester wasn't great. Lester's a great pitcher, a very underrated pitcher for many years. I'll get to the number one pick later, last. Khalil Watson, another player I think fell way too far. He reminds you of Jimmy Rollins in the field. He likes to compare himself to Lindor at the plate. And Khalil Watson, I think, is going to be an everyday major league player without a doubt. So if you're looking to make investments next year, Watson, I think, is a player that's going to move quickly, confident kid, great athlete, very smooth. Jordan Lawler, who I was actually surprised that he got drafted and he's going to, at least right now, it looks like he's probably going to sign. Arizona selected him. The comp is Carlos Correa, which I get, but don't think Carlos Correa franchise player. Think of the Carlos Correa we're actually got in Major League Baseball, not the upside of Carlos Correa. Then that's a good one. Jack Leiter is great. I mean, it's hard to find a problem with Jack Leiter.
Yep.
He's got great control, great velocity. But the thing that I like most about Jack Leiter is the same thing that when you watch his dad pitch, which is that competitive nature. He's just very competitive. He's out there. He's got that fist pumping, Al Leiter kind of quality. He's got all those intangibles. Texas came away with a steal here. My favorite player, Marcelo Meyer, who, to me, with Boston, that was the number one overall pick if you wanted to be safe. Marcelo Meyer was the guy. Left-handed, smooth swing, good defender. Everything looks incredibly easy to this guy. And again, I always say I hate when people throw the high, this guy, could be a Hall of Famer, okay? But it's hard not to watch his swing and not think he looks like Chipper Jones. It's really hard. And Chipper Jones, people forget, started off as a shortstop. You probably remember this too, Dan. And then ended up moving to third base. That might be the same thing here for Marcelo. He might end up moving over there. But if that's the high end, the low end is a 25, 30 home run guy who plays great defense on the left side of the infield and is going to be an all-star. Maybe he doesn't reach Chipper Jones' incredible levels, but in terms of how easy it is, that's what I'm looking for. But I don't get the Henry Davis pick. I don't get taking a catcher. He's a nice player. I understand all this, and I think, and this is my take on it, I think this is the first of what you're going to see in a couple years now of this draft combine Major League Baseball is running. And I think this is the first of the, oh my goodness, this guy was great in the combine and the great interview and all these things, and we just fell in love with the guy. And the player is a nice player, but he's not number one overall player. Sorry.
It was surprising. I mean, that was not, and you saw the reaction immediately from everyone who, on Twitter, people in the know were really just shocked that he was drafted number one, as was I. I really didn't expect it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I pretended that I had any insight into what the point was of picking Davis number one or what the evaluation was, then I'd be lying. So for me, I don't know. All I can say is that I think the Red Sox are very happy, and Mayer and Tuma were both very interested in the Red Sox. They were texting about it before it happened, hoping that it went down. I think the Mets got a steal with Rocker, obviously with Leiter not going number one. I think anywhere but one is a pretty big steal. So yeah, but also we should be honest about it. Who the heck knows with this? I mean, this is very different even than football, where the guys come up and make an immediate impact. This is, years projecting down the line, and as good a prospect as you look
it's
like.
Not as many years as it used to be, especially with so many college kids. Especially with the instruction being what it is. What used to be 24, 25 is now 22, 23. So it's like a year or two expedited because these guys are getting better instruction at the minor league levels. They're getting better instruction at the college level or high school level. Obviously the travel leagues and all the things like that they play. So they're getting more exposure across the board. But you do really need to know these names more, because even in redraft, if you don't play Dynasty, these names are going to impact. So again, there's always been some, like Mickey Moniak when he went first overall, I didn't get that. When Mark Appel went first overall, I shook my head too. And I'm the one I always used to cover that stuff in the Black Book before I turned it over to Eric Cross. But I remember in that draft going, well, John Gray's a far better pitcher than Mark Appel. Appel, who cares? Like he's not even going to get to the big leagues, I don't think, and the rest is history there. And unfortunately, John Gray got drafted by the Rockies, so who knows what might have been. But you're right, it's not an exact science. No draft ever is. But I'll tell you what, if I'm making investments, it's Marcelo Meyer, it's Jack Leiter, it's Khalil Watson, it's Rocker. I like Jordan Wicks a lot, and I think Fabian and Baez late. Those are two guys you can really look for, again, in your dynasty drafts. Now, Dan, I talked too much today. So tell me about your thoughts on the All-Star game tonight. Take me through the lineups, if you will, what you like, what you don't, any predictions, because clearly you have the seeing stone, my friend.
Yeah, the National League is favored, apparently, which I was looking up while you were talking, and I'm surprised by that. The National League is minus 120. American League is even money on the money line. I'm taking the American League. I mean, like, of course it's deep, so who knows? And, you have the pitching course, but you go through the lineup, like, just look at the starting lineup for a second. Okay, let's go to the National League. Tatis Jr., obviously incredible. Right. Muncy having a great season. Arenado, I mean, we're back in Colorado, so fine.
Nice moment for him. That's going to be cool.
That's good. But he's not exactly, a dominant force anymore. Freddie Freeman, great. Nick Castellanos, Winker, Real Muto, Reynolds, Frazier. Like, okay, that's fine. You go to the National League, the American League, Ohtani at DH, Vladdy, Bogarts, Judge, Devers, Semien, Sal Perez,
right? MVPs there.
Hernandez and Mullins. And again, these guys are going to play for 2 innings, so who knows? Right. But I'm not exactly sure why necessarily the National League. I understand. I mean, the pitching, fine. But I'm going with the American League to win also because I feel like, and before it really mattered, but I always felt like the American League always finds a way to win these things. So I mean, it's going to be wonderful to watch. Hopefully they showcase. Hopefully everybody's mic'd up so they can have some fun. But I am putting a little bit on the American League on the money line. I think they're going to come out victorious.
And by the way, the over/under for this game, because it's in Colorado, is 11.
Yeah,
which is a big number. That's a big number
really
for an All-Star
game
because of all the in and out and guys moving around. Yeah. So do you think that could live up to that number? You think you can go over? I mean, I hope so because that'd be entertaining. But
I'll probably go under just because I even in Colorado, because I always feel like I favor the pitchers. You get elite pitchers going out there for an inning or two and are like, great, I can just go as hard as I want. I think probably I'll go with the under even in Colorado.
All right, so prediction time. Who's your All-Star Game MVP? Who is it?
Oh boy, it's so nonsensical. But I'll go with Ohtani just because again he's going to be batting and he's going to start the game pitching. So they want it. Everybody wants it to be Ohtani. Everybody wanted him probably to win the home run derby. So I'll go with Ohtani. What about you?
Let's go with Devers. I think Devers gets the big hit. How's that? Okay. Let's go with somebody else fun because I kind of agree with you. The American League lineup is a little terrifying.
Yeah,
you kind of look at it. He's going, well, all right.
And I feel like Ohtani is leading off, so he'll get the extra bat. But
now I want to remind everybody about a sponsor of our show, and that's Manscaped. Make sure you go to manscaped.com, get that 20% off and free shipping with that code leading off. Again, it's got the skin safe technology. It's got the 4K LED light. It's actually what Pete Alonso used right before the home run derby. Shaved himself bare, went out there, hit 172 home runs, and then obviously he still didn't even have to plug it in. That's how long the battery life is for the Lawnmower 4.0, and it can be yours at manscaped.com with that code leading off. Again, 20% off and free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Now, Dan Harris, today we have a thank you, by the way, for all of our folks. If you go to Discord, fantasypros.com/chat, tonight is some stages. You get bonus Dan and Joe. My goodness, how lucky is the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks?
Incredible. Look, if you talk to us, come here. You guys are always here. You got 100 people watching at this moment, even though there's no baseball to recap. That's great. You want to actually talk? Go into Discord, fantasypros.com/chat, 7 p.m. Eastern, right, Joe? 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern. We want to do it. We want to be done with it so everybody can enjoy the game, but maybe get in there ahead of time. And you can ask us questions about your team. You can ask us life questions, whatever you want. It's going to be a good time. It's like
without question. Day. Also, without question, my kids, because that'll be right in their bedtime wheelhouse. They will undoubtedly make an appearance as well. So you can talk to my kids. Ask them whatever you want. They've got great answers going on. But yes, we'll be there from 7 until upside down question mark when, we'll see how many people show up, how many questions we have, and then we'll move on. So again, fantasypros.com/chat. There is a channel in Discord, a live All-Star Game chat under the MLB section. So you'll see that light up when it's good to go. I'll probably tag everybody, and we'll start it at 7 p.m. Eastern.
That's right. So get in there and join that as well. And don't forget about that Shane Bieber jersey too. Go to fantasypros.com/contest. Drop your review on Apple Podcasts or CastBox. Screenshot it. Join our YouTube channel at Fantasy Pros MLB. Get your 3x entry. And again, fantasypros.com/MLB contest. You just fill out the form and upload the screenshots, and you are entered to win the Bieber jersey. It's going to be fun tonight to talk to all of you. I hope you come out there and hang out. Tomorrow we'll recap the game, and also we'll plan a couple fun things too. Maybe a look down the stretch of some of the players we think really can make some impacts. Maybe some trade predictions, some fun stuff. And then by Thursday, baseball will be back and things will be normal, just in time for Dan to leave me by myself with Mike Mayer. So We'll see how that goes. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris, I'm Joe Pisapia. We'll see you next time, kids.